Hello.
Hello.
I've got some extra light. It's terrible. Oh, good. Welcome to Humpday Q&A. There we go. That's it.
Sorry, had to send a message.
How's it going?
Going pretty good. Pretty good. I have been playing with cursor a little bit in YOLO mode. So it's rather interesting. Basically trying to do a Norbert.
Yeah, you do your best Norbert impression.
Yep.
He did a really good presentation at Fluttercon.
Yeah, he did. He did. Where I got the idea.
Bit of a loose start. I think we have a Matthew joining us soon, actually. I'll send you a link, Matt. Join. Anyway. Welcome to the show, one and all. I guess we should just jump straight in with the old do's and don'ts or whatever. Oh, no, introductions. We'll do introductions first. That's it. We swapped it around. Okay.
Okay.
Do that. We'll get there. It's like it'll be like we've done this before. It'd be amazing. My name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader, CTO at Dev Angels London. You can follow me on Twitter and other places at Dev Angels London. Scott, you do your bit.
I am Scott Stahl. I'm not on the slide, but I am also a Flutter Community Leader and organizer of GDG Cleveland.
We have a Randall.
Hey, hi, I'm Randall Schwartz. I'm a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert, one of 12 in North America, and I serve on this show as the question magician. It's a lot to say this early, which means that I'm watching the chat, looking for a Q colon in the front of the line. I'll flag those to give to us here in the panel. And but by day, I'm coding Flutter all the time and speaking virtually at events.
And by night, you're Batman.
And by night, I am the Batman. Yes, Batman. Right. Yeah, that I gotta say that opening music though, started to put me to sleep. We need something.
Yeah, it's not. I don't like it. It's one of those. I stopped using the timer. I think we need to come up with a new snazzy one. Like, if anyone does animation out there, let us know.
Yeah,
but leave us a comment. Like, if you want to do us like an intro,
I think there might be an AI that could help with that.
Yeah, maybe we could do it in AI. Yeah, that'll be great.
And we have a Danielle.
Hey, I've got some VO3 credits if you want an 8-second animation of some sort, of something with sound. Hi, everybody. I'm Danielle Cox. I am one of the organizers of the Flutteristas, and I'm I see some of our people out there in the audience as always. That's great. I'm also the Flutter tech lead for a startup called Ardly, and anyway, that's me.
Yeah. We'll do the do's and don'ts as well. Scott, do you want to do them quickly? Very quickly?
Sure. All right. Be nice, be constructive, be respectful. This is not Reddit, and you're speaking to human beings. Don't post anything that's adult, rude, offensive, or otherwise against common sense. Don't advertise or promote anything. We all know you need a job. Do not spam the same thing over and over again, especially your questions. Every time we see a question, it goes to the bottom of the list. If you ask your question a second time, you lose your place in line. Harassment of any kind is not tolerated. No incels, no misogyny, no bigotry, etc. If you do, you will be blocked from the chat, and we will pass your name around to everyone else too, so they can block you. And lastly, have a good time, because this is supposed to be fun.
Indeed, have a good time. I also mentioned that we've got some instructions on here. Overlap. Yeah, so if you want to show code with us so we can like look at it or have a question or something like that, you need to head over to just.new, pop in description, name the file something.dart with syntax highlights, paste your code and comments in and whatever else. And then at the very bottom, 0.6, you need to copy the hash, that's the hexadecimal string from the URL after you published it, and pop that in the chat, and then we can go look it up based on that hash. So there you go. Back to him. We also have a Matthew. Hey, Matthew, welcome. There you go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Matthew. I am a senior Flutter developer for a large financial institution, but my passion is Flutter and making. So anything having to do with embedded Flutter, combining Flutter for Arduino, making Flutter, any type of thing like, that is more than just like a phone app. That's my jam. And I've got a great idea, Simon, for your animation. We should make one in Rive. And then, put it on the intro because, Roman did the great presentation about Rive at Fluttercon USA. So we should totally use that as our solution.
Definitely. I think it's not really a problem doing one of these animations. Lots of ways of doing it. It's just finding the time to actually do it amongst everything else. So also there's skill involved, right? So if unless you've got like lots of time, if someone with skill basically does it really quickly, whereas one of us that probably haven't done really fancy animations for a long time.
Yeah, like that's the problem. Like when I was in high school, I was one of those kids that was obsessed with Adobe Flash. I have just dated myself majorly. Everyone knows my age. Everyone knows my approximate age now by me telling like my obsession with Flash back in the day. But yeah, like it's interesting because I did play around with Rive.
You're older if you say Macromedia Flash instead of Adobe Flash.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, yeah. So I am just old enough
Shockwave director.
I remember when Adobe bought Macromedia and the sheer controversy that surrounded all of that, because everyone was like, Adobe's going to have a monopoly. And it's funny how much Flash did not have a future. But anyway, I did play around with Rive, and it was interesting because a lot of it was like, yeah, I remember this, like dusting off some cobwebs in the back of my brain. It's like, oh, I remember setting keyframes, but nah, my Flash skills are gone. They're just done. Also, I apologize. My niece and nephew have come to visit, so you've probably seen some strangers running around in the background, and I will keep my mic on mute so you don't hear the Bluey-a-thon happening in the background. So, yeah.
Oh, Java applets. Yeah. We also remember those as well.
I do remember Java applets were the future, man.
Wait till I say ActiveX components, then you're like,
oh yeah. Yes, man, those were the days. I remember when like you would go to a web page and would have like that little broken icon. It's like you need an updated version of Java installed to run this applet. Yeah. It was
right.
Yeah.
It was a fun era of the internet. Yeah, I am old enough that I started.
What's scary is you just enable those. And they're like I think the ActiveX had full access to your hard drive and stuff like that. So
yes.
It's playing Russian roulette with your machine. Every time you like access one of these like applets and whatnot, it's like
it was a massive security risk. Like honestly,
it's where they're gone.
Yeah, I look back at that era of the internet and I'm like, how did more stuff not go wrong? Honestly, just because of stuff like that. But yeah, I come from the era when websites were built with tables. Anyone remember table-based design? I'm sure Randall does. Yeah. Yeah.
I've generated my fair share of tables with Perl, yes.
See, what's really funny about this is it actually gone back to that basically with people doing div tags with Flex.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're just basically declaring each cell's flexibility the same way you do it with tables.
Yep. I firmly believe that we should have just stopped all development at table-based design. That was the peak of technology. No, I'm kidding. then we wouldn't have Flutter. Then we wouldn't have Flutter, and that's what we're here for today.
I'm not sure you can convince me of that one, but I do.
Matthew,
I do.
Matthew, to answer your question you asked, to answer the question you just asked a bit earlier, though, when you said why wasn't there more fraud and waste and stuff happening, I bet it's because there were fewer ways to monetize that.
Yeah.
I mean, because moving money around is now all online, and it wasn't back when the web started.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I think there's also. I mean, there's also like no social. I mean, when you talked about that Macromedia Adobe thing, there wasn't any social media that you'd go to like post about that. There was no like it just wasn't a thing. You had was it internet chat rooms? Remember those? And
remember GeoCities? Remember GeoCities? GeoCities was peak internet, where we all had our own personal web pages.
Animated GIFs for the win.
Oh yes,
bright
colors.
colors.
GIF. Oh,
GeoCities.
All the flashing.
I just remembered people make their websites in front page. Remember Microsoft front page?
Yes.
And then they would use the word art things to generate the title images and stuff like that. So you had always like curved banners on all these websites and all sorts of other funky things.
So my first code editor was a program called Luckman's Web Edit Pro. I don't know if anyone remembers this thing, but it was Luckman's Web Edit Pro, and it was written by like two guys somewhere, and that was it, you know. And I couldn't afford Photoshop, so I convinced my parents. And this was before, you know, I found my eye patch and sailed the high seas. So I used something called Paint Shop Pro to design my first websites. Yep. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure people are like watching this and like, I thought this was a Flutter show, not old Coots reminiscing.
Yeah, not old Jesus.
Did you just admit online that you have pirated that kind of stuff?
What'd you say, Danielle?
Did you just admit that you have pirated stuff like that?
No. I admitted that in my youth, I was very fond of eye patches and sailing the high seas.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, good. Yeah. I mean, I thought Scott was the only person that would like flash personal information up on the screen. You know.
I forgot about that. Oh shoot! I'm on this week. So Scott, you know, just to make you feel better. Yeah, this is how I would scan a Costco card. I would scan one side and then I would scan the other. You know. Sorry. I think we all have to hassle Scott about that till the end of time. That was fantastic.
Yes. Fortunately, the resolution is not good enough to have made much of a difference, but
I don't disagree. Remember when we all made fun of CSI when they would be like enhance and it would just make it bigger and it would be full resolution? Yeah. And now with AI, we're kind of getting there, you know, to where we can actually do that.
I mean, you can have the computer imagine data that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
but the terrible thing is, you couldn't use it. You shouldn't be using it in a court of law because it doesn't exist. It's not real data, right? So there's one thing about maybe using it to get you to the next step of an investigation or give you hints. There's another thing to say, now this is admissible in court because it definitely should not be, right?
I'm trying to think. It's probably 20 years ago, a Will Smith movie where it was like a satellite image and they were like enhance.
Yes, Enemy of the State.
Yes.
Yeah. Where the government's like tracking him everywhere by a satellite. It was the first time this idea of like back then it was this idea of like satellites can actually see the Earth from orbit, and then the people at home actually being able to like understand all that, right? Like what satellites were doing. Satellites were just this communication thing in space, right? Before that, like this idea that they're looking down upon the planet is another entirely different thing. And now we have Google Maps, and now we're like, yes, let's keep doing this. Let's have all these like pictures. So.
Anyone remember at Independence Day when Will Smith hacked the aliens with a MacBook or whatever it was? It wasn't the other guy. What's his name?
The guy from Jurassic Park as well. Anyway, yes.
Yeah.
Was it a ThinkPad? It was a ThinkPad.
It was a ThinkPad. I think it was. It was.
But I mean, I have found a picture of my mom. She was out smoking, and I found a picture of her on Google Maps on Street View.
That's fantastic. You should like print that out, blow it up, frame it to her, and give it to her. Like, here you go.
Have you seen those things that people do when they know the Street View is coming? Like, and they like one guy lays down on the floor, the other guy's over the top. They're obviously just staged, right? But they're doing it on purpose to like get on Google Maps or whatever.
I have a new life goal: be in Google Maps. All right, I've stalled enough. Sorry.
Yeah, just get your questions in, everyone, and
my cars in Google Street View. That was easy.
Yep.
Enough. Comes by.
Yeah, it's got mine parked too.
Yep. Cool.
I think I can bring this full circle. At Fluttercon, wasn't there someone who did a presentation about building like a Google Maps interface in Flutter?
Sounds familiar.
I think it's the Eddie Talks, apart from a few little bits. So I don't know.
Fair. All right, never mind.
When are those videos coming out? That'd be a useful piece of information.
Yeah.
It always seems like a good
month or so.
It takes a good few weeks to sort of
okay.
Get going.
I look forward to watching my bleary eyes on my video. I want to see how stoned I probably looked. Just like that. It was pretty bad that day. But people came up and thanked me for my talk afterwards, though, so I presume I got something across.
It was exceptional, truly
Thank you.
exceptional. Yes.
Wow. Oh, I see what you did there. Oh, I didn't get it for the first two rounds. Yep, now I know. Okay.
Right.
All right. Are we close to getting started here?
Yeah, we've got people watching.
Well, get your questions in, everyone. Get your questions.
We got a few
Trying to
questions.
build up the
already.
list. Otherwise,
Yep.
we'll just do some live coding, I guess.
Mhm.
What do we have in the? Oh, yeah, that was it. Oh, there's some news things I can kind of like jump onto, I guess. Some things I kind of put to one side for the show.
No, talking about how I appeared at the conference because I had gotten no sleep.
Excuses.
Yeah, I know.
Where was it? This one. Let's see if this shares. Okay. So I came across this. Apparently, they've nerfed liquid glass in the latest release, the latest beta release. Anyone hear about this? They've kind of. So I think there's a before and after shot in here somewhere. Yeah. So where is it? Yeah. So, no, it wasn't this one. It was. I've lost it now. I swear there was a before and after. I was comparing them. Maybe it was another related post I saw. Oh, here you go. So, you guys seeing that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Enhance.
Yes.
So
Magnify
this is
sectors 4
before.
through 7.
This is before, and that is after.
Ugh.
Before,
Yeah.
after, and if you look here specifically, you can see the lensing effect around the edges, and you can see the actual thing. And what they've actually just done is done a Gaussian blur, and then done a highlighted edge, and you're done. So it's been simplified, basically.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought of after I saw this, I'm with you, Simon. I think this is a battery thing. This has got to be a battery thing.
And then my first design, I mean, it's because the thing is, when you see it all along, it's like I mean, I may not be right, like, don't get me wrong, but it's the same thing like most of these things. If you're using more GPU, right, which you obviously are when you're doing all these effects, use more GPU, therefore you're going to be spinning up that GPU in a faster frequency, which means it's now consuming more power, which takes your battery more. It's the same way as if you like watch lots of videos on your phone, the battery goes quicker. If you watch lots of or play lots of games on your phone, the batteries are going to go down quicker. And now what you're saying is, let's make the whole operating system basically run all these effects. What do you think is going to happen, right? So apparently Taha was saying on here that he thinks he's experienced a drop in on the latest beta, even though that obviously beta releases would have consumed more battery, but it's actually over 1 and 2 there is actually some difference in battery. So it's kind of interesting, right? I mean,
my nickname for it last week is even more appropriate in my estimation. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I'm looking at that and I think a few things. Number one, Simon, you're right. You've basically turned the entire operating system into a video game. So of course your battery life is going to be affected. And there's no way to accomplish any of that without spinning up the GPU. So of course, yeah, that seems like an obvious thing to me. But honestly, and this is weird because I am an Android guy through and through. So like for me to comment on what an iOS thing is doing is probably, somewhat irrelevant. My opinion doesn't matter because I am pixel gang to the death. Like I'm all about that pixel life. But I look at that and I'm like, I understand Apple's desire to unify everything around Vision OS. Like I 100% get it. I absolutely understand they want one unified experience everywhere. But the flip side to that, as I look at it, is like I question a lot of the stuff they did with Vision OS in the first place, down to like the design of the hardware. As someone who's like an avid VR enthusiast, like you put down the headset, it's just heavy on your face. Like why would you make a VR headset out of metal? You know, like that's like the first question, right? So I understand what they're trying to do, but at the same time, I feel like if you're going to unify your OSs around a design language, maybe Vision OS wasn't the right call. That's my opinion. Hot takes with Matthew.
Yeah, the conspiracy thing is preparing us for transparent phone in the future.
You're
The reason why they're doing this is because they can't do a transparent phone, so they're trying to make the best simulation of it.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
I
see, here's
Five
the thing.
lenses
So
on the
just
camera.
briefly, here's the thing. Those effects you're just seeing, right? Like in glass, if they were to like make a specific update, maybe for the firmware on the GPU, and actually say that they optimize it to the nth degree, and actually have something like that, they could probably get better back, not hit the battery life so much, right? Like where they can like spin up only one core its only job is to do the liquid glass effect all the time. Then you can do like these things, but yeah. Anyway, sorry, go on, Tanya.
No, all I was going to say is I love my foldable. So I mean, I love my iPad. I've got my Mac. I love my MacBook. So there's nothing going to make me happier than to have an iPhone that I would love. But as of right now, until they make their fold, and I think they're maybe saying 27 now, I would I'm stuck with Android. So. And right now I've got the Samsung, and I'm torn between the new Samsung, the Fold 7, or going with the Pixel 10 Fold when it comes out. So
Danielle, the person in me that really would love to have a phone and tablet in one really, really wants a foldable phone. The mobile app developer in me really just wants foldable phones to just not be a thing. I'm just ready for it to be done. Like,
I need to play more with the multi-window aspect of it, so that I can have ones where, like the translate stuff where you've got like the one side and then it shows on the back side too. Things like that. I would love to be able to make use of that unique feature of it. But
for sure.
I haven't yet.
And I get it. The Flutter team has given us lots of tools to be able to deal with this effectively. So I get it. But also, it's just like one more thing you have to think about when you're developing, right? So,
well, the photographer in me loves my foldable because it's a lot better to show off photos.
yeah. And actually, one thing I thought about for like shooting videos and stuff is it would be easier to use the back camera potentially while still being able to see what you're trying to shoot. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually got a mode where you can use the selfie using the back camera, and it'll show you on the front screen what on the other half of the front screen what it looks like. So I mean, it's pretty cool. It's got some neat features to it. I've got the 4, so mine's coming up on 3 years old. So that's I guess it's coming up on 3 years old. Which is what 407 in phone years.
I'm still on a Pixel 6, Danielle. So like I'm in the Stone Ages.
Yeah. I'm on a 7. They're offering me an upgrade to 9, but I don't know. The 7 does everything I want. So I don't see a reason to upgrade. Let's see here. Isn't this where Randall says something?
Should I be saying something? Sorry, I'm waiting for questions to start. We have plenty of questions now.
Yeah, well, I think we'll do that. I was just actually going through preparing a couple of stuff. So.
All right.
Yeah, let's get to the queue. Oh yeah.
All right.
How about hang a minute. We have someone else in the background. There you go.
Hello.
Hey, great.
I was just trying to decipher your comment about so I can still enjoy good notification management until Apple releases a foldable. What were you meaning by that?
I don't know. I tried switching to iOS, and I think I did it twice, and every time I went back because of the notifications. So
okay, I get that. Yeah,
it's personal preference, I guess, but I got so used to it. So yeah.
Okay, I jumped in before you introduced yourself. We should have let that happen.
Hey, so I'm glad that I can join. It's nice to be on the other side for once. So my name is Free. I've been a Flutter developer for quite some time already as well, and I've been joining the stream every Wednesday from yeah, from the viewer's perspective. But we all met, I think, 2 weeks ago at Fluttercon USA, got to know each other, and I'm happy to be on this side as well.
Welcome.
It's good to have you.
Yeah. Welcome aboard.
So, should we, get on to the questions? Yeah, let's just jump straight
All
in.
right.
Sure.
Let's see. Is Flutter Env secure? I've seen many people complain that it's not secure and that hackers can easily expose sensitive information. Can you explain if this is true and suggest a better approach?
Don't put stuff in your client.
Flutter EMV.
I don't know.
I mean, is that just like loading a .env file?
Sounds
Do
like
you
one
mean
of
that
those.
package? Because I'm looking at that package and it's Dart 3 incompatible, last updated 6 years ago. So I'm assuming you mean a different package. The .env, is that the package you mean? Flutter.env? I mean, yes. It's more about the fact that you're basically putting a file. If you put a file in your assets, that file is publicly readable by anyone that opens. Like, I mean, you can try this yourself. Grab your APK file that you've built from your app, rename it to .zip, and open it up. You're gonna get all the assets in there. The code is compiled into a single binary, but the assets, they're just there. They're images and everything else. You can just open them up and use them and copy them out. So this means if you make a .env file and stick it in your assets, guess what happens? Someone can just unzip your thing, and then they have a list of all your variables and all their values, which is kind of like, especially with the API keys, it's like holding up a flag saying, "Look, come steal my stuff right now," right? So ideally, if you're going to be doing a API keys anyway, you want to be able to over there update them anyway. Ideally, you can always ship out a new version of your app and solve the problem that way, but you want to rotate your API keys every so often anyway. Whether you do, most people don't, to be honest, but for security's sake, that's what you should be doing.
Also, if you're using any type of CI/CD, you should be putting that information, like if you're using Bitrise, it would be in the secrets thing. If you're using Azure DevOps, it's in the library. Generally, you want to be sticking stuff in there as opposed to using a .env.
So you can, I mean, a lot of common practices for building Flutter apps with code generation is just to like have your CI pipeline generate a file with constants in, and just use the constants. I mean, like, it's not a big deal. Just don't have it checked in, have it get ignored. Or as people are saying, Dart define, right? And
that's how we do it. That's how we do it.
Secure, it's the same thing as if you define a constant. So Dart defines our constants. So it's the same way as if you're a constant file, right? And injecting them that way. But you still need a way of to use the string dot from environment, int dot from environment, bool dot from environment, like global constructors as a way of accessing your Dart defines, is if they're booleans, strings, or integers. Yeah.
Yeah, we do that, using, our Git pipeline, it has secrets. I don't write that part of the code, so I don't know that part, but I know that we have a bunch of Dart defines that have the API keys and the server names and stuff like that we inject in. And so, not everything we inject in is secret, but that's just a way to also kind of get us our flavoring in when we're building. So that's how we do that. And then I was going to say something else. Oh no.
We take the same approach, Danielle. We have our secrets, and then we inject those through a Dart define.
But the other thing I do is I also allow us to override them on our, that we can pass them in to our, we can also pass them in so that we can use testing with it without having to create the Dart defines in that. So I've got the we've got our environment, or actually I start with what you pass in, and then it's question mark, whatever we've got from the environment, so that we can override those easily for testing.
Yeah, makes sense. I think like if you accidentally commit it into your repo, before you know it, you will see it again in an AI generated answer. So yeah, definitely keep those out of your repositories.
Yeah, really.
But
For
also,
those,
also
for those people that don't, sorry, just to be clear, for those people that don't know, if you've committed something into your repository you didn't want it to, you can always undo it. You can always edit the history. You can always edit a commit, remove that bit from the commit, and then repush the branch. In fact, you can edit anywhere in the branch. You can just remove old commits and do whatever you want. Like just because you commit to it doesn't mean it's there forever. The problem is that if it's a public repo, like open source, then you don't know if someone's copied it before you've managed to remove it, right? So in that case, that key's burnt. You should just just make a new one.
But I mean, you know, some of those things are kind of weird because you want to keep them secret as much as you can, but you shouldn't.
An API key ships inside your app and is public. Yeah. It goes across the connection. It's not exactly. Like that's why you need to rotate them, right? Like strictly speaking, they're not necessarily like private keys in terms of that, right? But there's also this case of most of these things you just don't want to start. It's different from as we said earlier, like holding up a flag and saying "hack me now." Like it's that kind of like you don't. Yeah, exactly. You don't hold your driver's license up to a camera, for example, right?
I've got a great idea, guys. I've got a great idea. Here's my idea. I'm going to write an app that connects back to an LLM that does nothing but generate API keys. So it asks the LLM generate an API key, and then it gives it back to you, and everyone will use these in their apps. And then generally, like, it won't be secure at all. And then, step 4, question marks, question marks, question marks, step 5, profit, right? There we go.
Wow.
Right. Next, I guess.
That's certainly an idea.
Steph wants to know who Flutter Universe and Forgive.art are.
I've wondered that myself. That's a great question.
Flutter Universe followed
up with an answer for one of them.
Flutter Universe.
Right.
Said
What's
I'm
next?
22.
Why don't they can post in chat if they want to. Right.
Yeah, one of them did actually.
Superior.
Moving on.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there a way to run Flutter on old Android versions like Android 4? I do not believe so.
Probably not.
I think that's
Android 4.
It goes back to KitKat.
Yeah, that's 4.4, right?
No. So hang on. Let me have a look. Yeah, you can do 4.1. So the minimum recently changed up to, can't remember what it was now, 21, something like that. But you can run a slightly older version of Flutter and go down to API level 16, which for those that don't know, there's a wonderful website for this. There's also one for iOS, and I've just forgotten the name of it. Let me see if I can find it quickly. The one time I won it, and I've lost it. 1 second.
So I look at this, and my question immediately is,
why?
And I don't mean this like, why, but I also don't want that to come across as elitist, because as someone who loves working with embedded systems, there's a lot of reasons to try to get stuff working with old hardware, right? So my question is, what are you trying to accomplish? Because is the Android 4.0 necessarily a requirement, or is there a way of getting a different underlying OS that you could be running Flutter on top of? That's the first thing that's popped into my mind.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if your old device is running Android 4, it can run Linux, and then therefore it can run Flutter, right? But it depends on how much work you're trying to do to kind of get to your end result. I just want to share this. Where are we? So, I don't know if any of you guys have seen this website before.
You showed it to it. It's a previous stream.
Probably. So APIlevels.com, I'll post it in the chat. And this is where you can look up, what percentage of the cumulative usage of the different levels and platforms there are, when it was released. And as you can see down here, Android 16 4.1. which was the minimum starting value for Flutter for min API level for Android and Flutter for a long time. Let me pop that in the chat for anyone that wants to see it. And then there's also one for iOS I wanted to show, which is this one here, which is iOS ref. I'll pop that in the chat as well. And this one's similar, like when it was released, what first iOS version was the max. So you can see the different compatibility levels of all the various different devices. It also actually has quite a lot more information as well around iOS, which is very helpful as well.
It's reminding me of Flutter Forward in Kenya when they were demoing the 3D dashes, and they had the however many they put on the same device, and they just throw out casually flex that it was running on an iPhone 4.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right.
Scott, you're on mute. Whatever you just said.
Yep, I realized that. I was doing intro to Flutter talks a long time ago, and I do remember they specifically said that it went back to KitKat, which is interesting because 4.1 is Jelly Bean.
So they changed the min level to 21 from 16. I don't remember which version that was, but I can tell you if the person wants to run it on 4.1, they can. They just need to go find the older version.
Gotcha.
You won't get the latest features, but that's the kicks of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you actually look to those numbers there, what was it? It was open it back up again. When did 4 come out? 4.1, 16, 2012. I mean, there's a certain level of backwards compatibility, but that's a bit much.
Yeah.
Well, and even the chart you showed, the percentage of devices still running that was like insanely low.
Yeah.
All right. Looks like we've got one from Matthew. General question about embedded Flutter. What's involved in getting it on different devices like single board computers, TVs, etc.?
Oh, wow. I just did a whole talk on this, and someday I'll be able to post a link to it. Yeah, so essentially, if you're going to do embedded Flutter, the best place to start is probably the Raspberry Pi. There is a Flutter engine embedder called FlutterPi that was written by Hennis, and he has done an incredible job on it. Don't let the name FlutterPi fool you. It'll run on any Linux distribution. You just have to know what you're using it for. But it's primarily designed for the Pi. So essentially, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start, if you're just getting started with this, I always like to start with something that actually functions. So you want to install Raspbian Lite or Raspberry Pi OS Lite. That's going to give you a fully functioning command line Linux operating system. And an advanced tactic would be to look at build root, but the problem with build root is you have to enable and disable packages to get to something that actually functions. So if you're just getting started, install Raspbian Lite, and then go through the documentation for FlutterPi, install that on top of it, and you'll be surprised at how easy it is to actually get an embedded Flutter application running. There's a lot of applications for it, and honestly, I was impressed at how well my apps ran. I've run it on a 4. I'm going to be doing some experiments coming up on a 0.2W, I think, just to see how far I can push it and see what I can do.
So I will say that the limitation there is that they are ARM-based machines. So although that Dart does compile RISC, the new RISC-V, Flutter does not yet do that. And there's still work needed to get Flutter to work on RISC-V, which I was looking into a while ago, which I haven't managed to get back to. But yeah, that's still the case. And again, the Raspberry Pis are insanely powerful for the price point, and that's why they make really good options for this. But again, if it's still expensive, so if you're trying to go down the route of actually producing a piece of equipment at the end of this, you should be looking at what actually goes into what sort of ARM device you actually have accessible to you to actually use for your single board computer, basically.
Yeah, I have not went beyond just getting it running on a Raspberry Pi. So there is, if you want to actually build like a true like lower cost embedded device than that becomes a whole other question for sure. But as a getting started, look at FlutterPy. That's going to be your best bet.
Very
Right.
good. All right, Flutter shows density independent pixels, but there's always a 2 pixel difference in Figma and Flutter. Is there any way to match Flutter with Figma without using plugins like ScreenUtil?
Oh, I should.
It shows a density of pixels.
I like to be on that. I have those things called "Don't Look for Pixel Perfect" and gives a lot of details about why not to worry about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, who
the
the
gold
heck cares about 2 pixels? And that's my first answer to this. And then, is there any way to match? I mean, are you sure? I've never seen it be a problem.
Yeah.
I've pretty much seen it.
Did you seriously just ask who cares about 2 pixels, Simon? You've not met some of the UI designers I've met.
No, I met them. But the point being is that it is literally the point being is that it's not about those 2 pixels, right? So first of all, your device is like at 4 dip. It's not 2 pixels. It's like now you're talking about a quarter of a pixel, right? So it's like, what are you actually trying to get here, right? Is it? I mean, what you're talking about is probably a rounding error because of the way the ratios work out. It's like I don't even know what you're even caring about. I was using 2 pixels, not 2 dips, right? They are different, right?
Well, it will change the look of a border.
Yeah, but this is the point, right? Like your border is going to be 1 or 2 or 0.5. It's whatever you set it to. It doesn't magically get 1 or 2 more pixels from it. So what he's probably talking about is about sizing or dimensionality or something else where, you know, you're getting an error, a rounding error where the alignment of a widget is to one left, rounding up rather than rounding down on a edge of something, and that could sort of. Let's say you've got 5 widgets in a row, and each one is rounding down. Then your last widget is going to be like 2 dips bigger than your first widget, right? Because of the round down on either side of that point. But yeah, there's nothing there that's actually should throw off your designs. If you're seeing a problem with borders, however, that's probably around there's specific parameters in borders to deal with this. Around if you're pushing the alignment of the border on the outside or on the inside of the shape. I
was going to suggest that could be it, because we just recently had a big conversation about that, of whether, you know, how the border size, you know, because we also in my designer came up with something where I think when it's an error, it was a bigger border than otherwise. And so, yeah, you know, making that work in the right way for what they wanted, you know, makes a big difference of whether the border is on the outside, on the inside, or splitting it, you know.
So I found it. It's called stroke align.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that actually might be cause your problem if it's relative borders. You need to make sure that you set this. So by default, it's on the inside. But you can have it split that border across and center it, and then also on the outside.
Which means if we're applying a border to 100 pixels and it's a 1 pixel border, that means that the internal part is 98 in that case by default?
9. Sure, 99, right? 100, 1.
No, it'd be a pixel on both sides. So 98 in that case.
If it's center aligned, yeah, sure.
Well, if it's line inside, that's what I'm trying to nail down. What does line inside mean at that point?
Oh, that's not on the inside of the shape, right? So it's always
Right.
It's not going to fall across the outside of the border, so
Exactly.
so it can be clipped appropriately. Because you used to have this problem where you draw the border was split across the boundary, and then you go to do clipping, and you get rid of half the thickness of the border when you do the clipping, right? So you do the default is on the inside to ensure that clipping does not clip your border, but then you can still have that same effect and have it align wherever you need to. The stroke align center, which puts it the original way, which is the 2023 default, which is like half on the inside, half on the outside, and then you've also got stroke on the outside, which puts it completely on the outside of the shape. So you get the size of your widget does not contain the border at all, right? Which obviously makes a difference if your border is more than 1. For most part, borders of 1, 2, no one cares. But if you've got like a thick border, it makes a difference.
Of course. Yeah, the clipping also is kind of fun when you start putting radiuses on your border and you have stuff stacked in and stuff. That can get fun.
Wait, you start doing. Most people don't actually do different X and Y border radiuses, but you can do that as well, and that makes some funky effects too. Right, what we got?
What upcoming features or changes in Flutter are you eager to see?
Augmentations.
What was that?
Augmentations.
It's more of a language change.
Well, it's a Dart. It's not Flutter. Okay. I presumed I could say something that's Dart related.
Sure. I mean, you can. I mean, you can say whatever the hell you want.
Yeah,
I'll extend it a bit. I'm excited about RiverPod 3.0, but that's not Flutter. That's a Dart package. So,
I can show people what I'm interested in. Have any of you guys looked at this yet? There's new design document for multi-window experimental APIs that we can use. So I actually haven't like taken a deep dive into this, but there you go. So you do Flutter config enable multi-window, and I add enable multi-window to the pub spec in the Flutter section. And then if you do Flutter rin and deploy, you need to be beta or stable release channel will automatically turn off the feature. So you have to be on the dev channel or master. Is windowing enabled? Okay. I actually haven't looked at this yet. I mean, we can explore it now if people want 5 seconds. I don't know. We see which computer libraries. Window controller.
And where I saw we turned it on. Where is this? Is this in main and dev stable? Where is it?
Well, it's just saying it's not on beta or stable, so it's on dev and master at the moment.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a selection of APIs, I guess. So they're actually okay. So they're saying that they're.
I have not looked into any of this.
Yeah, break it anytime, sure. I need to give it a go. I don't know what it's not saying what they've actually exposed in here at the moment. But there you go. Look, if multi-window feature is turned on, widgets like material dialog will automatically create child windows on macOS, Linux, and Windows.
Nice.
That's, all right.
I did answer my question there about do not, if you turn on beta or stable, you'll lose it.
Yeah, it just that's what I'm saying. It just says it will turn it off. Oh, there you go. Look, the flag will only be available on the main release channel.
Okay.
Oh, did they get rid of the dev channel?
They did, and I forgot about that. As soon as you mentioned that, as soon as you mentioned beta, as we Americans would say, beta.
Beta. Right.
All right. Moving on.
Yeah. Maybe one thing I'm very excited about actually is we just had the changes for hot reload on web. Yep. And they're still busy making some changes to that. And I'm excited for when it's going to be available via the web server instead of just via Chrome. Because as I recall, hot reload wasn't working there just yet. But that will open up a lot of.
No, I think they've added it. A hot reload on web, right? Under a flag now.
Yeah, they did. But it's only working on the Chrome, Chrome instance. Yeah. So not via the web server, which also had like implications if you wanted to run it embedded in different web applications and so on. So.
I developed on a project that was web first embedded in an existing application, and it was such a pain in the neck because of the hot reload issues and many other things that the Flutter team has addressed. So I agree, Free. That is a huge thing.
It was It was actually what I talked about at in Fluttercon, and it's actually possible with some like a quirky Flutter run command. You're kind of able to like load up the host application and then insert some stuff and make it work. So it is possible now, but it's only possible on master right now because I had to submit like just a minor pull request for getting it to work, but it's kind of working. So
I was saying to some of the Flutter team members at Fluttercon that, you know, the Flutter tool itself needs a major rewrite. It's so the code for that is so messy now. It's like there's so much legacy going on there. It's so confusing. Like it's like impossible to change. Like without it's just horrible code to work with. Needs a fresh start. Get rid of all that legacy. Right, where are we going? What's the next question, I guess?
Hi, everyone.
Hi. By the way, I was going to say, I think I'm at the point I'm going to drop off.
All right, well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm going to have to soon.
Yeah, I have a non-optional meeting that I have to go to in 3 minutes. I'm sorry, guys.
You can come back. You can come back after the meeting.
Yeah, as soon as Randall says he's dropping off to make room, we're all like, okay, bye.
Right, we're all like piecing out.
Let's go.
Bye.
All right.
Well, thank you all. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you then.
Bye,
Take
everyone.
care,
Have a good one.
Oh.
Bye, everyone. I can wave goodbye of my dad.
The dash.
All right. Have a good day.
See you.
All right, where was I? Hi, everyone. Hi. Does anyone have an example of file drag and drop? What is needed to achieve this, and what would be the recommended steps or approach?
You mean on macOS, on Windows, drag and drop onto your or what exactly on web? I mean, the thing with drag and drop, again, or do you mean just drag and drop with inside your own UI? Like, yeah, I think you need some clarification, Jim Martin, on what you're trying to achieve.
I used this 2 weeks ago on web. There is a package that supports it. They can just drop a file in.
Yeah, there's a great package that what was the team? Oh, damn. Hang on, I'll go and find it now. There's a great desktop package as well. Superlist use it, or Superlist. I think where the native shell. That's it. Native shell did one. Super drag and drop. That's the one. Let me bring this up on stream.
Lucas, he barely beat you to it.
Yeah. So this is a good one. Yeah, super drag and drop. So this allows you to take like files and drop them in and access them and stuff. Works on macOS, iOS, and Windows. So yeah, I'd recommend this one if you're looking about native drag and drop.
I think I went with Flutter Drop Zone for the web implementation.
See, the thing is, web. That doesn't work. That one doesn't work. But if it's web, yeah. See, web itself already supports this, right? So web itself, web in general has had support for drag and drop into the file input fields for a long time. Obviously, on Flutter, it's slightly different because we're rendering the UI ourselves. But yeah, what's it called? What's that package called? Flutter Drop Zone.
Flutter Drop Zone.
Cool. I'll pop that in the chat. Yeah. Right. I guess what's next? I mean,
All righty. Hey, Randall. Yeah, I'm going to have to drop off. So, Randall, go ahead and take my place.
Oh, okay. Good
Be the
timing
question
then.
musician and the question reader.
Yeah, I can do both of those. So here's the next one. Wait, we did this one, right? So it's done. Yeah.
You'll
Which
have a
one?
good one.
That's the next one.
Okay. It is said that Flutter will no longer be supported in iOS 26. What can you say about this? That sounds like you're misinterpreting the glass issue with the overall support. Overall support's still going to happen. It's just
You know,
that
they're not gonna. Yeah,
yeah.
they're not gonna like drop support for iOS ever. It's like
You know, it's
I'm
a
not
huge
sure where that
market.
came from.
Yeah, that's somebody misinterpreting the. I was actually seeing a few Medium posts that says, "Is Flutter dead now that iOS 26 implements things that are hard for Flutter or something like that?" And it's like, so it's already going around in the rumor mill in a way that is not helpful really to anybody. So that's just how it is. All right, well, we answered that. Let's go to the next one. That'd be this one. I have a row and a text widget on the left and an overflow bar to the right. I put both of them in flexible, but when I resize the screen, the buttons start to wrap even though they're not close to the text widget. I bet there's some hidden padding or something going on.
I have a row and a text widget to the left, and an overflow bar to the right. I put both in a flexible, but when I resize the screen, the button starts to wrap, even though they're not close to the text field. The best thing you can do, Roberto, use that lovely gist.new website, post your example of your code, and then we can look at it and see what's going on. It's probably I put both in a flexible. So each one's in a flexible. So a flexible, are they loose weighted flexibles? Or sorry, yeah, isn't it? Is it loose? I mean, I've forgotten what they are now.
Loose or tight?
Yeah, well, one of it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that we can look. I mean, if you post an example, we can take a look. There you go.
Yep.
Move on. Let's go to the next one.
It's too bad that Scott just left because he just gave a talk on everything about flexible.
Oh, that's a good point, right? We could just say, wait for Scott's talk.
Right. So I'm trying to read spacing in my navigation bar, but no luck so far. Please help me in any advice using this gist. Do you want me to read you the gist so you can type it in, or are you just going to cut and paste it?
I actually had the gist open. I opened up earlier when it came in.
I told you how you do that. You need me to read the letters for you so I could.
Yeah.
6, 7, E. And the winning Powerball is 5.
Right.
People are adding questions faster than I can scroll back to go.
So I think will we close the questions in 5 minutes so we can get some live coding as well today before we call it.
Good plan.
So,
good plan. Yeah, because we still have 9 in the queue. So let's hide that questions. We don't need any more. It's on here. I'm trying to reduce the spacing between the menu bar item when it is collapsed as true. All right, desktop layout, some fun picky imagey things. Cool. Is collapsed as true. No. Bad, Sullivan. No. It's always you never do media query off. You always do media query dot size off, right? So that you're not getting that. You're not. This is watching the entire media query, not just the size changing. Right? Anyway, also GPT. They're never up to date.
Also, I feel like if you're gonna do this. This is not like it's only the first time it opens up. So if this is on desktop, the window can be resized, right? I don't know. I'm just guessing. In which case, you would want to run this every time and not do set state. Also, you don't need to do set state after it did change dependencies. You shouldn't need to. Right, so hang on, let's go down to where is it? Is collapsed. Okay, got it. What was the original question? I'm trying to reduce the space between the menu bar item. Menu bar items. Do you mean the navigation bar items? All right. Can I just tell you something here? Make widgets. Why have I got this long ass, like really, really complicated widget? Like, why? Look. Why is this a function? Tell me why. Make it a widget. These are the parameters for the widget. Like, yeah. Sorry.
Enable very good.
Modification here. Reduce vertical padding. Collapsed item. Well, we can run it up in a bit and we can take a look, I guess. Maybe we can. I mean, we're going to have to run it really because there's a lot going on here. Maybe we can figure out what's going on.
Was there a call to media query in the middle of that too? Looked like it.
Menu, the dynamic spacing is time 0. Why do you think it's not working? Well, honestly, that is why it's not working.
Wow.
If you multiply any number by 0, what do you get? 0. Remove that, and you've solved your bug. You're welcome. Next.
Sorry, I can't keep laughing there. That's okay.
No, it's something that happens, right? Like I've experienced that before myself. So
I remember being an earlier.
It's not a dig. It's just there you go. That's the problem with what you're having. So glad I could find it for you.
Has anyone used Flutter in an LG TV so far, and what was your experience? I know I don't have an LG TV anywhere around here. So
no, sorry. I mean, the thing is, it's based on like the LG TV is a WebOS, right? The web-based operating system. So I don't quite know how they're operating that. If it's like WASM or Flutter Web, and it's JavaScript, or I've not even looked into it, to be honest. It's great that they can support it though. But, yeah. There was saying that there was a talk on Flutter on TVs at Fluttercon. So stay tuned to join the best thing you can do if you're interested about the videos coming out is Fluttercon World Twitter account, because we'll tweet the videos out. Let me pop that in the chat for anyone that wants to join. Hopefully. Oh, we lost a Randall. Right. Did they go in the chat? Yes, it did. Yeah. So there you go. Come on. Follow that and you'll get the videos when they come out. Yeah. How fast I spot? Yeah, it does.
First class support.
Right. I guess we'll carry on with the questions whilst we're waiting for a Randall. Also waiting for another guest to join us, but I'm waiting. I said Meredith would be right back. Okay, so we'll carry on, I guess. We'll hold the fort. How to define material theming so that colors dynamically change based on wallpaper colors, similar to Google Apps.
So that's the material you kind of.
It does that already, doesn't it? Like you just have to. Is there like a flag to enable it? I swear it supports that out of the box. You have to do like when you build the theme data or something, probably enable a flag. Use system color is set to true. The platform supported system colors. The system colors will be overridden by certain theme colors. There you go. There's a flag called use system colors, which you can pass to theme data. There you go. Yeah, so I'm bring it on. Yeah, that's the wrong tab. Yeah, let's do that. So the theme data constructor has a use system colors flag. And according to this, there you go. It will override it with the various things supplied by the system. There you go.
Hey.
You're welcome.
Oh, okay, next thing. Pushing the button was right there. Hey, how do you manage? I already answered this, but how do you manage Flutter versions in your PC when you have multiple projects that require different versions? My answer, of course, is puro.dev.
Puro, FEM, pick a Flutter version manager that suits your thing, whatever.
I used to use FEM, but Puro is just so much faster and better that there's really no point in talking about FEM anymore.
I wish I could switch to it just like that, but we have teams of people using one that's like not as simple.
That's why you should work in a team. You should always be a solo. Then you can change whatever architecture you want.
All right, hang on a minute. Oh, problem solved. No.
Says the guy.
No. Right.
Anyway, so puro.dev is what I'd recommend for all that. So it integrates better with the IDEs, better than FEM does as well. Anyway, and also and REPL. So if you want to play around with a REPL in Dart, you can use Puro for that. All right, next thing. Any known companies who are using embedded Flutter? Oops, this would have been a question for Matthew. Using embedded Flutter in car instrument clusters or fridge screen, etc. God, it's a bit go for a fridge screen, but okay.
Loads.
Yeah.
Was it Toyota? Was it one of the big ones that picked it up? BMW's picked it up as well.
Right.
A bunch of the car manufacturers now using Flutter for their UI system for their cars, embedded platforms. It's fridges. I feel like there's probably going to be some fridges soon if it isn't already.
Light switches. They have animated light switches going.
I mean, as we said before, like, pick an embedded platform, just run it on it, right? So, yeah, I don't know.
Right. Enough for that one. On to the next one. Is there any way Dart can communicate to languages like C, Kotlin, Java, Swift, Objective-C like Kotlin can in the near future?
It can already do it. It has been able to do it for donkey's years.
Right. You either have
FFI.
Java, and there's one kind of thing for that, or you have C plus protocols. So it's just a matter of getting the right bindings.
Yeah.
But that's pretty. Yeah, and it'll get easier too eventually. It's what we keep hearing.
So native assets are just a way of shipping the output of and compiling the native output part of your app or package that you need to ship with an app. It's still FFI, right? So yeah, and you can do all that what you've asked for with FFI. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, next thing. What is the difference between flexible and expanded widgets? Ooh.
So expanded is just a flexible with its flex set to 1, right? If I remember right. Oh, it says that and then it forgets. Hang on. I'm going to look it up. Yeah. Type. Yeah. So it's the type flit with a flex factor of 1 by default. That's what it is.
Yep.
So basically saying it should try and push out the content and be expanded. There was actually another one called, what was it called? Space. Not space. Yeah. The space is just basically an expanded without a child. Trying to find the spacer widget. Is just, well, in fact, it is just a expanded widget with a flex factor of 1 passed in and child will shrink, basically.
A flexible and expanded are the two subclasses of flex, I think it is. No, they're the children, not the parent.
No, flexible is the underlying widget, right?
One's a subclass of the other and just changes the
Yeah,
overrides.
expanded is that's what I'm saying. Expanded is just a flexible.
Cool. Yeah. We done with that on the next one?
Yep.
Okay. Are Material and Cupertino ever going to be separated from Flutter?
Yes.
Only with crystal balls, no.
Well, they're
Sorry.
working on it right now, right? So
Yeah.
they're trying to they're separating out the libraries so that they have like a more generic library that's base that comes inside the framework, and then Material and Cupertino as put them out separately.
Yep.
Well, the
Okay.
end result that's going to be is part of the process, right? And they did I've forgotten what the name was of they did a trial period trying to try some of this out, and they've already done it for a few widgets like checkbox, and I think in the last release they did a widget in the last release. Oh, that's going to bug me. Anyway, you remember that?
No, I'm trying to remember. That sounds familiar, but I don't.
I think it started with the widget state, getting that out of Material to be able to reuse.
Yeah. Material state turned to widget state, yeah, which was definitely needed. It's going to bug me. Oh, expansible. That's it, expansible.
Oh.
So we had these expansion tiles, which are very much like the spacing and the way that operators material design. It's like, well, you want that kind of expanding collapsing panel like behavior, but you don't want the material design look and feel. Then okay, now you've got a base widget that you can build upon.
Okay.
To me, I think it's the same thing that the whole it's one of those things where Flutter, because when Flutter first started, it needed a UI system. It chose material. It kind of then became the de facto standard for Flutter apps because it was just the thing that came out of the box. And I think that we're now just trying to make that separation of those things, right? Like kind of undo that behavior that happened at the beginning. So now you've got what Flutter is as the engine, the framework, and then what you've got is different design systems on top.
All right. Probably the last real question here. What
Space
do you
that inherits from render objects?
Oh.
No, it doesn't.
Mm-mm.
Nope. Try again.
Next. Right. Okay. What are you thinking? What's your thinking? What do you thinking something about Flutter modular? What is Flutter modular? I've never seen that.
I think we looked at this in a previous stream actually. And we were like, we looked at it before, I'm pretty sure, and it was just like, yeah, if you want. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've already looked at it, just given up already.
Oh, I think I remember this. This is the one that
Spark project structures, shelf modular, Flutter modular. I mean, see, the problem that I have with all these libraries is they're great until they don't fit what you need them to do, or they're not flexible enough to do what you want to do, and then you have to throw them away and do it yourself anyway, right? And I think there's something that's fundamental to the behavior of your app, especially when all it's doing is maybe saving you a few lines, and you don't have the understanding of how it works under the hood. It's kind of a disadvantage more than an advantage.
I think it gives you an opinionated way to work in, but you're not able to change that opinion over time.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing of let's say it's the difference between I want a package that gives me a button that does all this buttony thing, right? Versus I want something that does a whole architecture of my app, right? Like the button thing is fine because it's modular by nature and you can choose to put it in there, replace it, do whatever. But when you've got something that's just like essentially goes tendrils throughout all the architecture of your application, to make any change to that becomes really difficult. And it's also the kind of thing that you need to understand the behavior of how your application's working to actually be able to debug your app and work with your app. And when you're working with a third-party code that does all this stuff, it becomes that much more harder to actually to find bugs and to work with your code.
And if you use packages that provide, say, new layers for A, B, and C, and you have a different one of those that produces new layers for C, D, and E, and then have that C overlap, and you're stuck. because you can't commit to both of these layerings that are on top of there. Writing abstractions is actually pretty hard. It's one of the, I think one of the most complex things I face is trying to figure out what parts of this need to be tunable, what parts of it need to be ganged together, because they should all be working off one number. It's that kind of thing you have to, I've always said you have to build 3 concrete examples before you can ever build an abstraction of anything, because you don't know what's tuned with what until you have a lot of variations. Yeah, anyway, and I believe the next thing is just a note saying hi and thank you. Yeah, so if you use Puro and used it and made it a successful PR, that's great. Good. Glad you like that. That's it. We are out of questions.
Cool. So, does that mean should we do some live coding?
Oh, we have one more question. Sorry, didn't catch it when I was over there. So, any opinion on Lego architecture from Tide? I don't even know what that is. Getting any hits? Let's ask ChatGPT.
I mean, if I Google it, it's just Lego.
He's saying it's from the Tide company in the UK.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is like
searching for Tide UK is probably not going to give you a lot more than storm reports and stuff. What it's like at the beach today.
Found an engineering blog post. A couple of engineering blog posts.
So hard to have opinions on something we haven't seen. Although we've done it before.
We can give you an opinion.
Yes.
I can always give you an opinion.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Anna Lashenko did a talk on this, didn't she? That was, what was that? Flutter Vikings, yeah. 2 years ago. I think this is just that's just how you can do it. Yeah. Project, yeah, that's the one. That's the one I was just looking at. I mean, this is how you build apps anyway. It's not really
giving formal
I'm
names.
going to take a quick scan through this.
Yep. Get Gemini to summarize it for you, and then make a podcast about it.
I mean, I feel like I must be missing something here because I mean, yes. If you're doing feature first, I mean, it brings up on stream, so I might as well. Yeah.
So we can see what you're seeing.
There you go. Yeah. Kind of scale, blah blah blah. Zero consistency. So they made a tutorial using the Marvel Comics API. Utility layer. Oh, so it's a separate article for each piece. Okay, yeah. Here's how you build a utility layer, which is a bunch of your utility stuff. Sure.
Milos is good.
They got dependency injection system. Sure. I mean,
it's whatever you have to do for a large app. That's pretty standard stuff then.
Using DO. I mean, read through it, use it. If you feel like this is like how you want to build your app this way. I mean, go for it. I mean, most apps don't need, like, you choose dependency injection framework. It's not until they're massive that you kind of get that kind of need for something really, really big. Where was I? Feature layer. I mean, this is feature first development, so
Post to one more question, I guess.
it's good. I mean, this is really nice, right? This is more like right. But yeah, I mean, overall, this is just describing how they've managed to use this architecture design system to build their app, I would guess. So they take you through each one, which is really nice actually to take you through these. And then they're here showing you how they kind of like structured it as an architecture, which is how I would build apps, right? So you're breaking down your component into smaller and smaller features, right?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the other things that it shows is that it splits it up into separate Dart packages as well. But
yeah,
I don't think you have to do that.
No, you don't have to do that. I mean, there's pros and cons to doing that. So it's only until recently that we've actually been able to get good performance out of that. There were some issues around the replication inside of the language server when using multiple packages, which was really causing performance bottlenecks. They fixed that with the workspace stuff, but then you can't mix. If you want to compile Dart code without Flutter code, then they can't be part of the same workspace, which means you might have to reorganize your file architecture so you can have two different workspaces, because the workspace is defined by a top level pub spec. Anyway. Blah blah blah. Yeah, cool. Next,
Right.
I guess.
Live coding.
Live coding. Cool.
Yeah, we cut off the questions a while back. Just reminded the audience.
Good.
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 Yep.
Right.
So what are we live coding?
Right. So
we left something undone last week still, right?
well, we have that, but I was on the Twitters and Alios, I can't say his name. I can't. I'm terrible with names. Okay, hang on. You guys can give a go at his name. Hang on, let me share this, and we'll see how far we go.
I don't dare.
Oh, hang a minute. Here he is.
Hey.
Right, you need to tell me how you say your name, because I always say it wrong because I'm a stupid Englishman.
Yeah, even in France, it happens. So it's Alois. Alois. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the stream. Do you want to?
Thanks.
I mean, do you want to give a little brief introduction about, I don't know, who you are, what you've done in the community? I don't know, anything else?
Yeah, introduce yourself.
You mean globally?
Sure, whatever.
Wow. Yeah, I've coded various packages. The most famous one must be Flutter Device Preview, I guess. A package to preview your app in different aspect ratios by simulating the different devices. So yeah, probably the most famous one, but I mean, I'm experimenting almost always. So if you follow me on GitHub, you will see a lot of experimentations. But yeah, and I work at ClickUp currently. Great team, and we have the chance to experiment many things, and we just announced a desktop app, which is really cool. I've not worked too much on it. It's more Simon did most of the work on this app, to be honest.
Different Simon. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Simon Choi, who works at ClickUp.
There's a tweet that went out recently, wasn't there, with some details. Looks really cool. That app.
I saw it today. It's BrainMax.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's again, you will say, but an AI app which connects to various services and apps to make it possible to simplify every request by connecting all of these. and obviously ClickUp as well. So you can, I don't know, ask Brain to create your tasks, to book meetings, all that stuff. And also you have speech to text directly from the desktop environment, which was a bit complicated. We had to implement a lot of native features for all of that. Might be worth asking Simon himself. He knows all of the details about this app, but it's pretty cool that we can experiment different things like that outside of the main mobile app that we are developing with the team.
Well, welcome to the stream. I saw your tweet the other day. Let me earlier on. Let me bring this up. Yeah. So it was.
Yeah.
Go on, do you explain it?
Yeah. Basically, I don't know if you saw the vibe coding editor Norbert created.
Oh yeah.
It's called Vide, and yes, basically an infinite canvas where you could put.
We've actually been
widgets.
promoting it here on the stream every week. So there's a live coding live stream.
That was amazing. Yeah. That's why I'm mentioning him, because it will be easier to imagine what I want. It's exactly what I want to do. So an infinite canvas where you can put various widgets to preview them all at once, just like in Figma, for example. And I was asking myself how to implement it with Flutter. And first thing I've studied is the new or relatively new two-dimensional scroll view APIs. But I think it's really adapted for grids or structured views, but for something like a free-form canvas, it's difficult to represent the children as with their vicinity, because you should have an order, and you should first create a list of vicinity for each child, and then you create the elements from these vicinities. So it's difficult to map everything all together for this use case.
Yeah,
there's a video on the Flutter channel on YouTube in which Kate explains really deeply how it works and how you should configure everything. So it's not simple to grab. It's a pretty complex API.
Like there's reasons for it, I guess. But I mean, this is something that I've done a few different times in a few different platforms. So we could give this a go. Generally speaking, this is all about what's the word? Having a content plane that is large and a viewport. It's essentially the same way scrolling works, right? So your scroll is, you've got your viewport, which is essentially your view of the content panel, right?
I imagine it.
Gone.
It's a stack with a viewport inside of it, basically a giant stack with a part of it.
What is it? I mean, the question here is, what is this? I mean, let me just start off with, what is a stack, right? A stack is not actually anything itself. It's just a widget that positions things with absolute positions, right? So the deal here is that essentially what you need to do, how many children do you expect to have in this?
I would say like 10 max on the screen at the same time, and maybe hundreds outside of it. And
so we might be talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of widgets across a piece of content.
Yeah, on the canvas, and only 10 at a time. So that's why I don't want all of them instantiated from the beginning.
So the point here is that if something intersects, which is what you've shown here in the diagram, intersects with the viewport, then it should be rendered on the screen, right? That's a simple algorithm to do, right? And you can actually do this way. It's not even called the build method of those widgets until it gets to be rendered on the screen. So that's what we can do now. I'm going to show you how to do that. The performance impact, though, is that you need to know, and essentially what it is you need to know when you go to lay out the viewport, does this widget intersect? Yes. Okay, then attach and render that. Does this one, does this one, does this one. So the more widgets you have, the longer it takes to render each frame, right? Because you have to ask each widget essentially more, at least compare to each widget if it should be visible. The way you solve that problem is called a quad tree. And this is how games work. So games work in the same way. They subdivide on a two-dimensional plane the entities in the game, but in this case, widgets for us. And so in this case, if I was to cut this into quarters, right? Then let's say cut straight across these two just for simplicity's purpose, right? So in fact, and then these two here. So what we could say then is on the top left one, child 2 and child 1 exists, and on the top right one, only child 4 exists. Now, what you do is you can work out which part of the quad tree overlaps with your viewport, and that's simple. Like you can go down like 5 levels deep, and therefore you're doing 5 comparisons for each frame, and you get a list out of everything that should be visible on the screen for that portion, which is a lot cheaper than going for thousands. It doesn't matter how many are in the viewport then, because you're always going to have a certain amount accessible to you. So this is how games optimize for that. And then you can also do that in a 3-dimensional way for various things as well and get like a 4-dimensional quad tree. It's not called quad tree anymore. There's another name for that, but octatree? Pass. Anyway, the point is that that's a solved problem, and I don't think we need to solve that today. There was actually a package on Pub called Quadtree, I believe. Hang on. I seem to remember it because I think I was going to.
Doesn't Interactive Viewer have some optimizations about the children?
It's essentially the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
that was the go-to.
Yeah, there's Quadtreen's called Dart. There's a few of these implementations there around. Anyway, but that's something else that can be implemented. I think let's look at like how you might do a viewport and have it what's the word? And have it recycle the widgets appropriately. I think that's like step 1. So let's aim for step 1 and see where we get to. So I think I did something previous, which I can't share, but I will use it for reference. And yeah, we'll do something hopefully really simple. We could do like should we make a new widget like viewport stack viewport? I feel like there's like a simple notion here where you could just use the same positioned system.
Yeah, if we could reuse this. The thing is,
you have to be builders, right? Because like you need to
position widgets. It's optional to give them a position. Whereas here you must set an absolute position.
Let's work out what we would want as the input to our API, and then we can then work out what the best approach is, right? So, oops, right, sure. Let's grab something from previous, save myself a few finger stabs. That'll do.
This is going to be like a sourdough starter kit. Every time you keep copying from the previous week's stuff and just add a new bit to it.
Yeah.
It's like sourdough. He had to build with the original ones back from 3 years ago.
It's already happened a few times. We're on like the 5th iteration of this cycle.
Okay.
Right. That's make it pretty cache, sure. We'll use those images as our starting point, and then we'll put whatever widget that we want in here. So what are we going to consider? So I said stack viewport stack.
Yeah, stack canvas. I don't know.
Stack canvas?
I don't know.
I like that. Stack canvas is the top level, right? There you go. stack canvas. Now, the thing is, the reason why the builder pattern works so well is because it only like requiring to call the builder for the widgets that are actually going to be visible. However, we do need to know the methods. The widget's still going to need to know, in this case, the metadata about which widgets it needs to, compare against to know if it should build them. So maybe this is like having a stack item. And a stack item has its rectangle. I mean, they don't have to. I mean, do you want them? Do we just care about a point? Like, do you want them to be intrinsically sized, or they're always going to have fixed dimensions? Because I kind of feel like, if we have them as just X and Y and an alignment, then they can intrinsically size themselves, and also that means that you can just use a size box to size each one if you want to.
Yeah, it's even better, but yeah, I was thinking that it would be a bit more complex.
It is because the thing is, you need to. I'll tell you what the problem with that idea is. Actually, now say that is looking at this diagram. You're not going to know let's say child 1 here. You might know its top left coordinate, but you may not know its bottom right coordinate until you build it, layout it, right? At which point, that defeats the purpose, right? Like you've now had to build every widget. Let's stick with rectangles for now, and then we can see where that might go in the future. There are ways of it's about where you make the decision logic, right? Anyway, let's continue with where we're going here. So stack item. So we could say our children always have to be stack items.
About doing a pre-sizing run when the item is added.
Yeah, there's also dry run as well. There's a few other things you can do. I don't want to like overcomplicate this at stage 1.
But at least some level of complication. I get it. You don't want to overcomplicate it.
Don't want to overcomplicate already complicated topic.
It's right.
Okay. So I guess. So we're gonna do some elements. I think we're gonna have some fun time with elements.
I think when I get better at vibe coding, I should be competing against you, Simon, to see which of us can come answer first.
See, the other side of this is like we could provide. I mean, let's use this example on the left. As we can have our 4 children in our sure. Let's just do this. I don't know. What we're done. No, messed that up. I mean, you can have something like this, and obviously that can have a child and whatever else you want to put inside. You'd have to have a builder, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. No, I'm off in the middle of nowhere here. Oh, that's not right. I mean, at some point, I kind of felt this maybe is defeat them. So another way you could do this, instead of having this kind of like, because if you want to add a stack item and remove a stack item, you're going to have to rebuild the widget, right? I mean, you can do that. It's not a big deal. I'm thinking maybe there's more of a dynamic approach to actually having like a builder method, right? Where we've kind of got like the context and then the viewport itself.
Couldn't you reuse the logic with elements with multiple children by reusing the keys? If you give them keys,
oh yeah,
then
yeah. You all have to have keys. Yeah, I'm just thinking about like, is it nice to actually say that each time we move around as we pan and move around the screen, we've got an option of comparing the list of what we've already got to know if we should put it on the screen, or calling a builder function, having it return what should be on the screen, right?
I would
use
I would use the children, I guess, since it's simple. But because if you give it a builder, it implies that the algorithm, like the quad tree, is outside of the widget and should be implemented in this method.
But so
I
in
would
this case,
keep it simple.
So in this case, you actually have to know the complete size of every item, right?
Oh, you need yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. You still need to know that, like no matter what you're doing, really, because you need to know the full rectangle to know if it's intersects with the viewport. All right, so let's actually take the text out here. Let's do a demo item. And
just with an index, maybe.
Let's do it. Colored box. Oh, we can do a.
It seems to be the same problem as just dealing with a stack with positioned elements, but not running the rendering until you have the list of elements that are inside. So you'd run the pre-layout pass and then throw away all the ones that aren't within, and then you'd run a render pass. At least that's the way my foggy brain is trying to determine it.
I think you're totally on point there. I think that's where the end result is. Essentially, it's the way all the sliver stuff works.
Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah. Slivers. I knew they'd come in handy someday.
Yeah, and in the video, it looks like two-dimensional scroll view also adds like the primary scroll controller logic and semantics and various other things on top of that. So that's why I was considering using it, but yeah, it's more complicated because it's not it doesn't look like it's designed to be used for freeform canvas like that.
All right, so let's start this off as being to really something stupid. Let's do this, right? I'm just doing this as like, let's get something that looks kind of where we want to go. Right, so if I run this, let's run it on desktop, I guess. Did I not put the widget in there? I guess we can get rid of that feature. Let's just get rid of that for now. You are running this one, right? Yeah.
You might. Oh no.
Go on.
Maybe
Oh, I'm not calling the build. I'm not calling
the build. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
That'll be why it's not working. Hey, look. There we go.
Okay.
Yay. So let's get something similar to what we got the picture here. I know we're not. It's just a diagram, but let's. We've got a target, then, haven't we? We can meet that and know that it's behaving as we expect. So let's go. Change the numbers around. Where's our red box? Our red box is like. We can start off on the initial viewport, move around. So say like. It shouldn't matter that we have like negative numbers, right?
For Y, yeah.
And oops, where's that demo item? We've got whoops. Don't delete everything. So that would not be a good idea. Right. Yeah, I guess we'll do that. In fact, we'll oh yes, because of the material. Let's just do if there's no what that was material adds a default text style. I'm trying to override it for everything, so you would have had to change the theme. You can still do it, just would have had to do it theme wise for everything, which is kind of slightly more annoying for my example. But all right, and let's adjust around this. Something stupid. Why not? Cool. Now let's move around some more boxes. So make them all 200 by 150. And let's move them around. So what we got here?
One, yeah.
500. Sure. And that one. Child 3.
Coming up to the end of hour 2.
Are there any questions related to what we're coding in the chat?
No, it's been really quiet.
I'm guessing that's because people are finding this very interesting.
Well, the head count hasn't gone down, so people are still there.
I guess that's a positive yes.
Oh.
Then.
Or everybody's letting their cat watch the show while they're off at work.
Yeah, that'll do. It's my close approximation anyway. Right.
Wow.
So the idea is that we want to be able to pan this around, and then once one of these children goes off the screen, it doesn't get built anymore. It's gone.
Exactly.
It comes on the screen, it comes back. All right. So first things first. Our stack canvas. We basically want to control the rendering. So this turns us into a render object. If you want to optionally build something, it's slightly more complicated. It's all possible though. I mean, that's what we're gonna attempt to do right now. So let's have some fun, I guess. So let's go for. I think I showed this last week. We can go for a custom multi-child render object and kind of use it as a base. This is going to be a multi-child render object widget. So the thing is with one of these is the logic for. Let's go into the widget here. The logic for handling when it should attach and detach a child. It's all wrapped up in this. And the whole idea of the index slot stuff doesn't really make sense in what we're trying to do. I guess each child has an index. I did something before, but I didn't use.
Maybe we could take a look at the stack implementation.
See, stack doesn't. You can multi-child render object. So same do what we're just looking at. It has a custom render stack. There you go, stack parent data. So this is the standard default stuff. And stack parent data, which how it gets adjusted. These are all just values that we don't care. This is just like parameters.
Maybe you could summarize for people that came in late. What are you making?
I will post this into the chat, and then you can read the.
Okay, that's what we're making. We're making one of them. One of those is.
It's basically about having like a widget that you can, like a canvas widget that you can pan around, but only the widgets that are visible on screen, the ones that are being built and rendered. So layout. So the thing is with this is that all the children are being attached. So, and that's the thing that we're trying to avoid. Now we can do it. We can just do a stack, right? And then choose not to lay out or paint the ones that are not falling in with the viewport, right? But that means that they've always been built, right? The actual widgets exist, right? So what we're actually trying to do is not attach the child render boxes to our render object until we're ready. Which kind of comes back to, we can still do it, but I've done that before, and that's why I can replicate here. But you'll be doing a custom a custom
I was going to say
element.
That's closer to what a sliver is doing, the sliver protocol, though, right?
Yeah, it's very similar to that. I mean, we just don't need all the excess stuff that brings in. Let's have a look at two-dimensional. Let's just have a quick look at the two-dimensional. Again, like we're saying that this wasn't like suitable, right? So what is it? Scroll view, isn't it? Like the base. So this is the top level, and you get a delegate, and you have a builder or list delegate, which provides this notion of vicinity.
Yeah, it represents the order in which the children are traversed across the two axes.
Yeah, I mean, kind of annoying, isn't it? Like you've kind of like done all this work and then like not given the extra layer. Let's see what we can do. That's interesting.
Roberto showed up with a gist for his problem now, finally.
Okay.
Going with the wrapping issue.
If there's time.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's carry on what I was going to do here, because I feel like I was talking about this last week about what we could do with elements, and I feel like this is kind of takes us to where we need to be. So let's do that. I wonder. No, we'll do it this way. We're going to see how far we get, because what I've got previously is not the same as this, but I think we can be close. Let's see how far we get. So we don't have this anymore. So we've got, as a render object widget, as a base one, pardon me, we're going to need to have a element and a render object. So I'm going to move this widget up just so that it's out of the way, because it's really just a bit of configuration. So first of all, we're going to need a what we call this stack canvas element. And a stack, canvas render stack. We actually a render box by default. This is a good foundation. What do we want to do now? I guess every element has a widget and a render object. Well, we know out it's a stack canvas. It's not named parameters in there. All right, so let's implement them here. So we want to return a element for this, and we want to return a render stack canvas for that. So we've got this is we kind of come back to the principles of the three trees, and we've got our widget tree, which is just the configuration. This just supplies the parameters for the other two trees. The element is the binder that binds the configuration to what's being rendered on the screen. And this is where the magic happens, right? So when I said this to you before, when we looked at last week's one, which is over here, I think, where when we were trying to when we create the render object, I said that we had there's like a parameter for children. Sorry, it's not on there at the moment. Close it. It's confusing. There's no need to pass the children over directly, because this is a mutable class, right? It's not immutable like your configuration, like your widget. So what happens is, as your configuration of these children changes, the element picks up on that, and then it has to add and remove the render objects from this stack canvas, right? That's what essentially the job of a render object widget does, right? And a render object element. So that's why we've got these three functions insert render object child, move render object child, and remove, right? So let's do that, just make life simple. So this is actually where the magic is happening. And then we've got the defaults down here. So I'm gonna see if I can get we'll see if we can get like I think let's do some really basic stuff first of all.
Maybe we render all of them first, and then we create the viewport.
Yeah, that's
logic.
what I was thinking. Then we can do like the magical logic, right? So we'll do. I'm going to override these two to use our hype versions, right? This is just to save ourselves some. So this way, in these functions below, we can use widget and render object without having to like worry too much about it. So in this case, we will say render object dot. Now here's a good question. Insert should be there. Yeah, insert child. Insert child is not there, is it? Because we haven't made that yet. Remove. We'll come up with those functions in a second. Right, and then I think I'm just gonna like lay out some stuff that I've done before, some groundwork. Yeah, okay, we'll do that, and then we can then work out what we're going to do. So I think I'm going to do a. So a slot is just it's basically the what's the best way to put it? State. It's the state of the element in effect, right? It's just it controls how the element knows what children are attached to it and where they're attached. So I'm going to use. I think in our case we might just use the rectangle, right, as our parameter for the slot. Doesn't really make sense. I'm just wondering if in the whole index slot, because when we add and remove them, what do we care about the most?
Yeah, it's not the
No,
rectangle.
I suppose rect makes the most sense. I mean, right now, I guess we don't really care that much. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, give me a second. I'm just trying to think how I can work this compared to what I did before. All right, let's go look at some reference. I think that's a good idea. Let's go look at some reference. What makes most sense? So we were just saying, what was the it was multi-child. Oops, multi-child render object element, and was that what Stack was using? Hold on, what was Stack? I think Stack was using multi-child render object widget, which didn't override the elements. It's using the default element stuff. So half me says probably easier to use the index one for now, and then we can go in and change it in a minute. Keep things simple. Let's have a look. Yeah, so this is the actual list of child elements that we care about. That's the tree. And then there's an exclusionary getter for children, which have the forgotten children. The forgotten children are just because they're still being removed. They're not being removed yet. And then this is it saying, okay, I'm going to go insert this into the render object.
Yeah, it's a bit complicated because when you move a global with a global key widget from outside this element to another one, they are placed in a temporary list.
All these generic tools make this look more complicated than it actually is, which doesn't help. I want to know. Yeah, see that. The nice thing about this, I suppose, is that it's already dealt with the way they work. This is just like a list of. It's not a list of children. Let's go with this to begin with. Get it rendering, and then we can see where we can optimize this. Because essentially what we're trying to do here, there's two concepts we're trying to do. One is to have it so that when we rebuild our stack canvas, it chooses which ones should be visible based on its state, and then only it inserts the ones that should be rendered on the screen. And then to get this render object, we actually need to do a layout pass. So this will be similar to a layout builder. Let's go a quick mooch around here for a second. So remember rightly, yeah, run layout callback. Is that in the abstract layout builder mixing? Provides a layout callback implementation. Word. Interesting. What is on? Yeah, so this is actually where. So scheduling. Yeah, so this is it. So you've got the owner, the tree owner here. Nodes to be laid out. So scheduled layout callback, and then should be invoke layout callback. And that's actually invoking the callback on the layout. Yeah, so I mean, so go all the way back here. Right, before we go down the rabbit hole, because, well, too far down the rabbit hole, let's go with that. And this is going to need to be a render multi. Right, let's do that. And then we'll come back to our element in a minute. And I guess if we're going to do that, let's take the same thing that we're doing on stack, which is the render stack, sorry, which is the standard render container box stuff. Sure, let's do that. give ourselves a head start. And we'll copy over. This is sort of based off what we did last week. Don't need any of that fun stuff. Don't care about intrinsics right now. Baseline position, try line. No. Don't care about any of that. Perform layout. And with the 2 defaults. Paint stack.
I'm going to have to bail in about 5 minutes.
Alrighty then.
Prior commitment.
I'm going to be clipping, so. Don't care about the rest. Cool. So right now, we got the stack parent data. We can make advantage of this because this actually has the parameters that we care about, a rectangle. So what we can do, our stack item could. We're going to take advantage. Actually, we can take advantage of a few things. Sure, why not? We can actually put positioned in here. I'm going to just take advantage of that.
Builder.
Sorry?
Builder.
Builder. Yeah.
Yep.
So what's going to happen here is that positioned is going to inform the is going to basically set the parent data. So we go down here. This applies to the parent data, which is what we're going to have access to inside our render object further down here. So child parent data will have our stack parent data, which has those parameters. So what we can do, we're going to be really basic here. We're just going to say final children equals get child list for child in children. Parent data equals child data. And then this should have a rectangle, relative rectangle. Or push them on. Top of them on. Yeah.
We create
So-
constraint. Yeah.
Yeah, it's file constraints. And we can just do it based off the parent there, actually, saying that we can just do
Box constraints. Yeah.
type 4.
Well, I'm gonna have to watch the rest of this afternoon, so I'll be
All right, thanks for joining us.
already out of here.
What am I doing? And data dot width. I suppose if ignore both left and right are non-null. Okay, yeah. So when we do rect, we're actually getting that. So what we do need to do, we'll just calculate it out just to give ourselves a bit of life. Yeah, right. Just A.
Oh yeah, it's.
So you could get the width and height from a rectangle. I mean, I can just do right minus left. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like annoyed that.
Yes, I hate this API as well.
What? I guess I can do this. That. Why do I have container then? All right, fine. There you go. In which case, I might as well just do parent data left and right.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me it's because they're nullable, right? Yeah. Well, they're not nullable today. There you go. Right. That was more hassle than it could be. Right. Child.layout. Constraints. True. And what I'm doing. Oh my god. Constraints. Oh, I mean, it's just child constraints, isn't it? There you go. We don't actually use the size directly because we're already forced into type. So we can actually get away with not specifying parent user size, which is slightly more performant. And then we want to position that child, which is actually setting the parent data position, which we already have in here. Oops.
Theoretically, we should also keep the max with the max x coordinate and y coordinate to calculate the maximum size of the whole canvas. If we want to bring bounds for scrolling later on, but For
now, yeah, we'll just let them plot on the screen. But we need to work out what that virtual content plane is versus the viewport. All right. So in this case, we could do. We need to position the child. If we're going to use those default paints, then this is set in the offset, and we'll just set that based on the left. Top.
I wonder if you wouldn't have to use rect instead, because left is the result of the offset affectation, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's same thing. Like you can do top left off a rectangle, but it just essentially does this. So.
No, but left on the parent data, I would use parent data dot rect dot left. Because left, if you go to the implementation, I guess it's the offset.
It's the same.
I know. Okay.
It's the same value.
But it's okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
It's all right. Right. So children go through, lay them out, and then we need to set our size. And we're just going to say big. We're not counting. This is not even counting about overflow, right? So these children are wherever they want, they'll go outside the bounds. We don't do any clipping, right? The nice thing about all this is like we can add clip to our widget, or we just grab the widget in a clip widget, right? So it's like there's no. Yeah. Anyway, so this should be enough now to get the widgets painting like they are. This is your basic stack. There you go. That's all the code for the render object right there, right? It's not that much. So we just got, so I'm trying to get that in view of the screen here. So we just got our set up the parent data, format that out, and then hit testing and painting. That's your basics. All right, let's make that bigger again for people that can't see. Right. Okay, so let's run it, see what happens. Wow. Crash and burn. So what went wrong? So this is suggesting that our parent data is not set. So I guess there might be a frame where it's not set, where it's still null. So can we, is positioned. All right, cool. So if we say, if parent data is positioned, then do that.
Yeah, and did you put the items in positioned widgets? I'm not sure.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's just like we'll find out, won't we? So up here, when I was doing that, I we'll come back to that in a second. What was it? It was in stack item position from rect.
Okay.
So that's no reason why they should not be working. I can see. I guess we'll find out. Oh no, that's fine. No, I'm not seeing any problem there. That's we're not using the element yet, so that's not a problem. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Render box was not laid out. Yeah. That's not. Just want to see if I can get to a point here where it's. Right. So, I mean, that's a null check on null operator. Okay, so that's actually what's happening here. Perform layout on right. So hang on a minute. Right is null. But one of them is not null. Okay, let's put a breakpoint in. Oops. And see what data we have. Let's restart and see. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, we have width and height because we specified them. Okay, I'm kind of pissed off about that. It literally read the documentation which said these aren't set. Or maybe it was that the width and height are not set when you specify. Okay, whatever. No, we're going to do this. Problem solved. Don't care. All right. There we go.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so we have, after all that hullabaloo, you actually got ourselves a widget that renders other widgets. Yay. Shouldn't need that anymore. I didn't think we would. No. And positioned, we shouldn't need. No, I'm restarting my way to see what actually happens here. So restart. Yeah, all good. Because we're forcing those parameters to always exist. So. All right, well, that's like a nice, simple way of doing a stack, right? Like, it's not like a lot of code there. What's that? 20 lines of code, if that. And that gives us this kind of behavior that we had before. So on our way.
Does this layout everything that's within the stack item that you provide?
This is laying out everything. There's no checks at the moment.
Okay.
I'd say it's not just about. So here's the thing, right? So at the moment, paint is going to go around and paint all the children, no matter what their offsets are, right? Layout, it doesn't look at anything to do with where the data can, how it reacts to the viewport. It's just always there. We always have no control over the viewport, right? So I think maybe that's the next thing. Maybe we have it so that you can pan the viewport. And then we have a notion of what a viewport is. And then we can add the checks to see what's inside and outside that viewport. I like that idea.
Yeah, we have two options: manage a zoom or not, and I would only keep the offset. And I don't need the zoom personally, but
I mean,
yeah,
we can add zooming in later as like an additional piece. All right, so we want this notion of a stack canvas controller.
Yep.
I've been changing that corner.
with the center,
Sorry?
Probably the center is the most adapted.
Oh, well, like an initial position. Yeah.
Yeah. and you could change it to move your viewport.
I mean, we're not. We could set bounds, or we set the bounds based on the actual children themselves. I guess we can work out what the, as you said, work out what the maximum bounds of all the children are. So he doesn't care where they're being placed, and that could be your bounds. And you can even add padding to that as well, which would be nice. So I think.
Yep.
I guess the only thing we care about is actually having a way of panning this. I'm thinking, I did this before on the one I'm looking at here. They have 2 animation controllers for horizontal and vertical. And then you could then move around and then you can do the fling and stuff, and it's super simple. Let's do that. Let's do that.
I would personally delegate this on the layer on top. I would only put the position, and if you want to animate, I would use another controller to update this value. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
just by lerping the offset.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see, like, I mean, it depends on what we're trying to do. Like, is this a controller for the cat? I mean, sure, it depends on what you want to do. We're going to be handling the input ourselves in this example, right? So this is more about like input to out. Let's do this, and then you'll see what I'm doing, and then maybe we can reassess it as to maybe a better approach. So our app state is going to have a controller in it. I guess need to mark that late, or we do. Sure. All right, we need our controller down here. And now we need the update. So this is about us having this controller as a mutable field inside of our render object, so we can do stuff with it.
Isn't there a mix-in for it?
A mix-in for what?
For managing a controller, like an animate, a change notifier.
No, I mean it's very specific for each one. Okay. Not that I've seen. I mean, if you can find me one, sure, I'll use it. Go for it. I know that I haven't seen one. And then I have a setter for our controller. The reason for this like little bit of boilerplate, right, is that so we can hand the value in. It's initially set without calling the setter, and our state is our actual state is this variable here, and then we don't want someone to be able to set this without going through some sort of code that we want to implement, so that we can detach from the previous controller, attach to a new one, or some such logic. So therefore, we need to override the getter and setter to be able to like wrap that up. Let's see.
All right, I'm gonna have to leave, but I'm looking forward to watching the rest of this.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for coming by.
Sure.
I'll try and wrap this up quickly anyway. Right. Yeah, all right. So let's do this. Yeah. I'm going to copy what I've done before just to kind of make my life easier, and then we can then see if it's worth changing it. Right. I'll tell you what I did before, which was different. I had bounds on this. And if we don't have bounds, then we're not going to be able to set min and maxes on these. All right. All right, so we have set origin on here.
Yeah, you could have an animate to origin to animate with the ticker to from the current origin to the destination.
Yeah, I'm going to do unbounded controllers as well. I'll give it some. Let's.
But it's just improvement. We could go with just a setter first, and that then add animations.
All right, where was I? Back to the controller. I'm going to get rid of this for now. Then we're going to get to elements. The stream is just enough to get this to do what we want it to do.
Here, I guess you need to stop listening to the current controller and then start listening to the new one.
Yeah. There's also attach. And it's happening on the
Maybe you should also set the. Oh no. Yeah, just mark draw, mark paint, repaint to when you. Oh yeah, mark needs layout. Probably.
Yeah, because I think I'm just thinking like we don't know. Well, no, I guess it doesn't need layout on a change of the controller.
We need to check if the new value from the previous controller is different from the new one, and if they are different, then we need to lay out again.
Yeah.
But
I suppose
it's an edge.
But the thing is, at the
anyway.
moment, yeah, if it's attached and with adding the listener doesn't. Yeah, the listener doesn't automatically get the callback, does it? It doesn't, does it?
No,
So
no.
yeah, so we would need still we could just call the origin changed, right?
Yeah.
And here, this is where we're actually doing. It's just saying if the controller's origin does not equal the current origin that the viewer is using, right? Then
probably only paint. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was thinking about if it needs a relayout, but no.
Yeah,
only paint,
I'm thinking just like at the moment it's just paint. We need to read. We wouldn't necessarily. And then this kind of comes into like when we go to. I know we're going to get to adding the builder support to this, right? In terms of building only the widgets that we want to, not like we're already over time. So sure. I think we could perhaps if you're interested in this, we can. It's up tomorrow, the next day, if you want, and we could do another live stream. But let's get this at least going a little bit further. Kind of don't. I almost just want to say Mark needs paint when it changed because we know that the origin will be different. Let's do this. Let's simplify this. So when our origin changes, then it needs to be painted, and then down here, our offset. That would be offset plus.
Wouldn't it be better to wrap it in transform? I don't remember.
Yeah. I'm just trying to simplify it right now, but yeah, definitely a transform layer, for example, would be the way to do that. I'm also like, so this is actually just going to paint the children of those various positions. Like we could also we can wrap the child, but to be honest, a transform layer would be the most optimal way, and then we're only changing the layer, and then we don't have to repaint the widgets per se. Like they'll be already based on the layer. I'm just thinking about how I want to handle input right now.
Couldn't it be managed directly from a widget on top?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. Like, what I did on the other one was just a gesture detector, right?
Yeah.
And it's a way of. It means that this becomes a stack canvas layout almost, right? Not the full widget itself. So I almost feel like this now has become stack canvas layout. pass those two things over. And then we can then wrap this with a. Now you can actually just for anyone's interest, you don't have to do it this way. There is actually on pointer on. Of course, it won't let me autofill it. The render objects actually get the pointer. Pointer, yeah, handle event. That's the one. So you can actually handle the pointer event straight inside the render object. But you kind of like avoid the gesture arena, a bunch of other stuff. It's kind of like wouldn't recommend it, but you can. Depends on what you're building. Also, it becomes a lot more logic you then have to do yourself rather than just relying on the framework's built-in sort of stuff. Right, don't care about end, I guess, but right. So I guess I want to have a snake like that.
Yeah, I never remember if you need to save the starting position.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, equal origin start plus the details delta.
Yeah, well, we can just plus minus the delta, and then we don't have to manage the start or anything like that. It kind of gets more complicated when I did this before, when you're dealing with scale, because of course you need the focal point and scale. But actually, I think we can get away with just like actually not even worrying about that and just doing that. Right? In which case, this might be enough to get us where we need to be. And restart, see what happens. Okay, well, no errors, so that's a good sign.
First try. Wow. Nice.
Wow, first time, eh? That's pretty good. I like that. So this is interesting. I can't click here and click here, right? Because of the
yeah.
I know that's because of
industrial detector. Yeah.
Behavior. What's it? Oh my god, what's it called? Gesture pattern.
It test. No.
It
behavior. Yeah.
Opaque. Yay.
Cool.
That. I don't know. I'm not looking at the comments here. Didn't know there was a Flutter community. Well, shame on you. Now you know. Welcome from the Twitch side of things. We do stream on Twitch as well as YouTube. Mainly, we get a lot more viewers on YouTube. But yeah, welcome from the Twitch. Right. I mean, where do we want to go from here is a question. Do we want to go from anywhere else right now? I kind of feel like having this limit the motion is like we could have it render do we? I do want to do the recycling, but it's not going to happen now. We've just run out of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good start though. I feel like this is like a really interesting little project. Let me pop your tweet reference in the top. Just put like, yeah.
Is this code open source?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
I will post this. So after every stream, we post it up on as gists on my account, and then every week there's a code example that someone can learn from and work from and try things out with.
That's cool. Thank you.
I think. Yeah, I feel like there's something else I want to do with this before we call it a day. Hang on. Let me. Yeah, I guess we're not doing the bill stuff right now, so don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, the recycling part is a bit
trickier.
Yeah.
It would be nice to add like fling, which is like. I mean, that's when it comes down to having an animation controller. And I was just thinking, actually, we could replace it's what I was kind of doing. If we replace the offset with an animation of offset, the thing is, you can only like the problem with this is why I kind of got to before. You need two animation controllers for the X and Y because they're doubles, right? They're animated via like just one plane.
I'm not sure. You could.
Well, because
set like you when you set the origin, you could set a destination origin and then twin the value between the two offsets.
It doesn't quite work that way because it works on velocity, right? And there's actually simulation that goes involved. All right. Well, look, let's park it here. I think. Let me post this up and we can kind of end. Let me go find my gists. Hope everyone's having a good time and everyone finding what we're doing interesting with the code. As I say, we will, if we can, we'll try and arrange another stream for some more coding this week. I don't see any reason why not. I have some work to get back to the moment, but then after that, I'm sure we can sort this out. Right, gists. Some gists. How have you been? Anyway, how are you about to? You've been working much?
Sorry?
I mean, how you been? You all right? Like
yeah.
I know we jumped straight into introductions, but I haven't spoken to you in a while.
No, thank you for having me, and yeah, that was cool to try to implement this. It's a difficult one, but so it was really very interesting.
What makes it interesting, right?
Yeah.
If it was easy, it'd be boring.
For sure.
What we call this? We're going to call stack canvas, yeah? Stack canvas. Sure. Stack canvas. Part one. Let's put part one because there's going to be a continuation. Update Q&A on the 9th. And always put a reference to the YouTube video in there so people can go back and watch if they find the code. Right, public gist on its way. Okay, that's in the chat. There we go. In the chat. If anyone wants to grab it while you can. If you go to my, if you are interested in like all the code that we've been doing week by week, We do actually, it's all on MyGist. So let me just show you whilst we're. So yeah, so if you go to the website address is gist.github.com/slightfoot. Then you'll get this where you can see that sec one each week, each code snippet. They're all MIT licensed, so you can use it for commercial. You can do whatever you want with them, basically. And every code snippet has a link to the video that they're from. Try and like keep some sort of description in there as to what it is and what it's doing. Yeah, you'll find them all in there.
Thank you.
Lovely collection.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. Hopefully that it didn't quite solve your problem, but we kind of started the process. So if you wanna continue that, be my guest, and then we can talk about where you went with it if you want. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, I will try to maybe experiment with this recycling stuff and maybe think about a solution for it. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks again, and I'll see everyone same time, same place next week. Bye.
Goodbye.